Battlefield 5. EA put out the reveal trailer for Battlefield 5. I got to watch it. I think we all got to watch it a little
I
bit.
just watched it again while you were rambling on about
Humble Bundle. It looks really good. It's supposed to take place. Did they confirm that it's World War II, or is just it looks
judging
like
by the weapons, it looks like it.
Okay, looks like it's World War II. They're kind of, if you've been following how DICE advertises Battlefield, actually ever since, I don't know if it goes back as far as Battlefield 4, but at least with Battlefield 1, their marketing is kind of, hey, Call of Duty is stupid, play this game.
Well, I agree.
And I mean, I agree too. And their big thing now is that, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, I almost just said Call of Duty 4. Black Ops 4 is nothing but multiplayer, and they're adding a battle royale mode. And EA, DICE, the developers of Battlefield, the series, they're kind of leaning into this whole, hey, we don't have a battle royale mode as a good thing, which I don't necessarily think is a bad position for them to take. I find it interesting because Battle Royale is so popular now, and I get why they wouldn't want to make Battle Royale the focus of the game, but it seems like if they had it, no one would complain. I don't know, but
well, I think it would be like when you have 3 Republicans running against 1 Democrat. It's about vote splitting, right?
That's true.
There's some things to point out about the trend of games as time goes by, and if you look specifically at Battlefield versus Call of Duty versus Medal of Honor versus et cetera, you'll see that Battlefield started as multiplayer only and slowly grew into the single-player story, while Call of Duty was single-player only and slowly grew into what it is now, the horrible, monstrous beast that's developed by way too many people and nobody with any brain matter actually likes. Except for anything but zombies, which is pretty cool. Battlefield is just the far superior game, the far superior series, and that's all I needed to say about that for right this second. I'm sure you had somewhere you were going with it.
Well, so I was just bringing that up. So that's kind of their marketing. I assume we'll see a whole lot more about this game at
You probably won't,
because EA usually does their own thing, like before E3, don't they?
Well, here's my experience with watching Battlefield. Battlefield's been my favorite shooter series for a long time, and related. Like I like the Medal of Honor series, which is roughly related. What they do is they put out a ridiculously cinematic trailer, which includes some gameplay elements and usually a pretty catchy, cool song to really get you hype. Like if you look at the Battlefield 1 reveal trailer, I mean, I was so hyped for that for like a year, waiting for that game to come out. And prior to that, you had Battlefield Hardline. I was super hype about that awful piece of trash. And it was sad too. I really wanted it to be good, and it just was not. But Battlefield 1, man, I can still watch a trailer and be totally pumped to play that game.
Yeah.
Because they choose. I mean, I hated the song. I hate Seven Nation Army, whatever it's called, White Stripes. I don't like those guys. But I mean, the grit, the ambiance of that, and the rush of everything that's going on all the time around you. It's just so much stuff. I mean, they pioneered the destructible landscapes and buildings, and then they also added in the quick time sort of deals, not like press Y to stab in the face type deals, but like the say 30 minutes into it, if a certain number of things have happened, like then like a tsunami will come or a big rainstorm or whatever, an avalanche. And that Call of Duty's been trying to catch up with for ages, but I mean they've been doing that since Battlefield 3 and then Battlefield 4. But if you look at this reveal trailer right now, you see all of that except for the hype music. And I have specific thoughts about this trailer that caused me both excitement and concern at the same time, which I would talk about. But I'm sure, again, that you have places you want to be with this discussion.
No, just talking about the trailer. I'm excited about it. I really am. Honestly, all of my reservations about this game don't actually have anything to do with Battlefield, even though my personal experience with Battlefield is kind of rocky. I got an Xbox One. I picked up Battlefield 4, and for months the servers for Battlefield 4 were hot garbage. And I only ever successfully connected to a game twice the entire time that I owned it. And it was so frustrating because the 2 times that I got into a game, I had so much fun. But I was like, I spent $60 on this game that essentially doesn't work. And so I went and traded it. Now, funny thing, I traded it for the Master Chief Collection, which had the exact same freaking problems. So I didn't really upgrade my experience.
Halo holder.
The difference is I kept the Halo game because at least the single player worked, and I like the
single player worked with Battlefield 4. It was a better story,
but I didn't buy it for that. I bought it to play, 64 people online, and so
64 people was PC version.
I could have swore the console version also. Was it only 32?
It was 32, yeah.
Maybe it was 32.
Yeah, the consoles could not handle that many unique inputs happening at the same time.
Okay. But they're up to that. Well, yeah, because PUBG's and Fortnite have 100 people, and the consoles are playing those, so
right.
They're doing
but graphically speaking, Battlefield would still crush both of them.
Oh, yeah.
So still might have
part of the problem on the consoles. And the reason they couldn't support that was because they couldn't do the same render distance. It was impossible to play as a sniper unless you were on a tight, narrow battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And even
there's no such thing
across the whole thing.
No such thing as tight, narrow battlefield in Battlefield.
Right.
And this has been the way it's been for a long, long time. I mean, even in their arcade game, Battlefield 1943, I think, 1942, the one that had that was in the Xbox Live Arcade, and Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, Battlefield 1, all these games, there's just massive environments. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it would not be Battlefield without a massive environment. You think Call of Duty, and you look back at, like, even Modern Combat, Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, which was the first Battlefield game I ever played. But you look at Call of Duty, and I think of maps like, there's that airport in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That's the only one that I remember that was sizable at all and fun to play.
Yeah, it's very narrow most of the time.
Yeah, a lot of hallways,
right?
Crossways.
So anyway, where I was going in this was if I were just like I'm judging this solely on the trailer, I'm excited, I would go buy it day one. All of my reservations about this game are with who's publishing it. I have no faith whatsoever that Electronic Arts will not screw this up somehow, even though I'm told they didn't screw up Battlefield 1. But every single other multiplayer focused game that I've bought, and I didn't buy Battlefield 1, but I bought Star Wars Battlefront. I bought both Titanfall games. EA is the reason that all 3 of those games flopped. The games themselves, well, it's not so much the first Star Wars Battlefront. That game has its own problems. But like the 2 Titanfalls were fine for what they are. EA didn't support them. They sent them out to die, is basically what happened. And I'm just like, I'm tired of giving EA $60 so that I can get a game that they're going to throw up on in 4 months. So
let me go ahead and tell you that your first mistake was not getting Battlefield 1. It was an amazing game, and it still has plenty of player support. You can find it for cheap in the Humble store. I'm pretty sure. So I would suggest getting in there and at least trying it. When I play Battlefield, the quality of the game has a tendency to keep me hooked on it for a long periods of time. And if I get a Battlefield game, I don't buy another game for 6 months to a year, because that's how much it keeps me. And maybe it's because that's just my mindset when I'm playing. I get in the groove, in the zone. But EA is not going to screw this up. I don't think they will, because number one, despite the popularity of Star Wars, Battlefront does not have the built-in player base and the built-in fan base that the Battlefield series does, particularly as the primary competitor to Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm. But if they had stuck to roughly the same formula that the original Battlefront series had, they would have had a much larger base to work with. And I disagree with they would have. And part of that was EA's influence on the game. I absolutely believe that EA prevented DICE from making the best game they possibly could.
I don't disagree. I will tell you this, though. If they would have stuck to the original format of the original back in the day Battlefronts, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I didn't play the recent ones, so I mean, I played a beta and hated it because it was a beta. It was buggy as hell. But I was absolutely astounded and shocked that EA did not make Battlefront basically space Battlefield.
Yeah. And that's what it absolutely should have been. That's what it was.
Definitely, yeah.
What I expected it to be, and it wasn't. It was nothing like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an absolute shame that they didn't just throw it into the same engine.
They should have. They could have. All they'd have to do is put in new, visual objects. That's about it.
Right. Just literally the assets. It would have cut them half the work. But no, they decided they were going to...
a better game.
Speaking of just using the same engine and changing assets, that's something that I'm hoping happens with this Battlefield that's coming up. Battlefield 1 was amazing graphically and physically and gameplay-wise. There was just so much variation, which almost is always the case with Battlefield games, unlike Call of Duty. There was so much going on, and it was frantic. And it wasn't frantic in an arcadey kind of way. It was frantic like storming the beach and Saving Private Ryan. It was you watch that Battlefield 1 trailer and you see the guy just hurtling through the ditch and having to fight people off with clubs and shooting the Rugers at people and trying to survive. And that's basically the game. And it's constant madhouse. And you see that same sort of thing in the Battlefield 5 trailer. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, it's a little different. They didn't have quite the same kind of trench warfare, and there was a lot of trenchy stuff in Battlefield 1. But there's a lot of crazy door-to-door in-town fightings in World War II that could possibly substitute. But if Battlefield 5 does not have the same kind of crazy madcap feeling and ambiance overall that Battlefield 1 had, it will not be as good a game. And here's the downfall to Battlefield 5 being potentially set in World War II again. World War II has been done to death. And if they don't make this just absolutely spectacular, a spectacle, an amazing experience from the word go, it's not going to be any good from the sales perspective, I think, or the gameplay perspective. Mm-hmm. Because there's only so many times I can get into, the invasion of Normandy, the, Operation Market Guard. There's only so many times I can be in a Panzer duel against a British, tank or whatever. There's only so many times I can fly a Mustang. And I've done that several times with Battlefield already. So they have to bring something special and new to the game. And it can't just be completely purely cosmetic either. It can't be the crazy chick who's somehow a British chick on the front lines in France with a garden rake on her wrist, like in there. Right. That's another thing I'm concerned about.
Well, okay, that is actually historically accurate. That is something that existed at the time.
Frontline British women?
No, well, not the frontline British woman part, but at least the prosthetic.
Prosthetic, possibly. But now if she would have had a French accent, I would have been all over it.
So,
okay, she's La Resistance. She's a partisan. If she was Russian or Belarusian, then I'd be like, I'm all about it. They had women on the front line. The Russians had women on the front line. Even the Germans had a few. But the British, no, they weren't going to send women on the front line.
Real quick, and it's because I'm researching something. What was the last What was last year's Call of Duty?
That would be Advanced Warfare.
All right, y'all continue. I'm listening.
It just seems to me that they're pulling a Call of Duty World War II or World at War or whatever the most. Last year's World War II Call of Duty game. It wasn't Advanced Warfare. It was World War II.
Oh yeah, it was.
They're pulling a Call of Duty. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying it. The concern is that they're going to pull a Call of Duty where you have black Nazis with no swastika, where you have Mohawk women with neon green Tommy guns, Now, these are examples that I don't know for sure that actually happened, but the same concept of what a lot of people were complaining about. I'm concerned that they're going to take historical accuracy and throw it out the window. Battlefield 1, they were extremely accurate with a lot of their ways. They did a few things that were a little inaccurate, like over-representing certain demographics for the time period in combat. But I'm concerned. I don't want them to go into that SJW kind of corner with what they're doing. And I guess that's the quickest, most concise way to put it.
So what I was trying to do was compare the active player base of Battlefield 1 currently with last year's Call of Duty, and Battlefield 1 would actually be a year older than last year's Call of Duty. I actually couldn't find recent numbers for Call of Duty. I don't know if that's just because no one's keeping track of it or because no one's playing it.
No one's really playing it anymore.
But on May 20th, which was on May 20th, which was this past Sunday, Battlefield 1 across all three platforms, PC, Xbox One, and PS4, had 86,000 people playing it. And for a 2-year-old game, that may have been helped by, well, no, because when did the trailer come out? Like 2 days ago?
Extremely recent.
Okay, today, and I meant to bring up today because that probably the Battlefield 5 trailer probably helped the spike in Battlefield 1 player base. Today there were 88,000 people playing across all platforms. It's really depressing to see how few people are playing it on Xbox One versus the other two.
Xbox One is the only platform I play Battlefield on. I don't like shooters on the computer for some reason.
Yeah, that same way. I don't either. But like Xbox One players for Battlefield 1 are 22,000, and it's double that on PS4.
Well, I mean, 22,000, you're still going to get into a match.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
now the thing about, remember when Battlefield 1 was announced, followed by Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare, I believe, is still the most disliked video ever on YouTube.
I think so. And it was a bad video.
It wasn't even the video that was bad. It was the fact. It was the game. People are so tired of ninja spacemen with neon guns.
Well, and also their choice of song was really weird. I remember that being something that people were like, "What is this?"
Well, then you turn around and you look at some of the interviews with the developers, and you see the guys in the background just like wishing they weren't part of this when they start talking about, oh yeah, we're going to have in-space battles where, you know, if you walk into a part of the space station, you're going to be too far in the sun and skin's going to boil and then
like that interview that Ben Affleck is doing about he just looks like, why am I here?
But Battlefield 1, I mean, I watched that trailer just for entertainment because it gets me so pumped.
Yeah.
So something postulated in the comment section from TheVerge.com. Due to the facial colorings and some of the outfits given by the squad, there is some speculation that this might be some time travel shenanigans, that this group of people may not have been native to the World War II period. That might be a huge stretch, and it does seem outside of DICE's norm.
That is way outside their wheelhouse, man.
So I saw it was a tweet or an article or something, but the headline was that DICE always puts fun over realism, and they're probably addressing things like that. Like, look, because the whole like walking on a Zeppelin in Battlefield 1, I mean, like, it's fun.
It happened.
I mean, maybe it did, but
no, the battles on top of them probably didn't.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that I think they're talking about. It's like, look, I mean, it's going to be a little realistic, but better it be fun than realistic to the time period, right? And I would agree with them.
I'm going frame by frame on this video, by the way, right now.
Yeah,
frame by frame.
I think probably the coolest thing within the Verge article that was given quote, when you get into the battle, you'll have a finite amount of ammunition and resources, and if you find yourself enjoying great success and surviving for long, those diminishing supplies will affect how you play. That is incredible. I love games that produce a sense of urgency and a necessity to interact with every part of your environment.
Instead of just, hey, here's a crate full of ammunition that will last you the entire time you're alive.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Are you talking about the single player experience, or are you talking about the multiplayer? Because I'm concerned about the single player experience being like Battlefield 1 single player experience, where the entire story just felt like tutorials for every stage of type of combat.
And I think that's where they're trying to get away from. I think they saw that, okay, we need to take our single player seriously again. We don't need to pander to 13-year-olds that barely know how to handle their hand-eye coordination.
Well, don't get me wrong. The individual tutorial stories were actually really good stories. It's just they were disconnected, and that bothers me as a single-player aficionado.
I think they will make it a cohesive thing. I think you're going to see this game look. Did you ever play Black Hawk Down?
I know that's a movie.
I remember that vaguely.
It was, I believe it was on the PS3. It was early on in the life cycle, but it was very squad oriented, where you have to direct people left and right.
So it was basically Ghost Recon.
To an extent, but with the Battlefield shell.
Okay, I can see that. Was it first or third?
It was a first-person game.
Okay, I have a hard time with squad-based first persons that aren't just like if you're playing with a bunch of AIs. I have a hard time with that. It just
and I can't remember the last time. Oh, no, I can. The last game that I played using first-person squad was Republic Commando, and that was an awkward experience in Unreal 3 engine. The scripting has come a long ways when I go and I look at other games that have I'm drawing a blank.
Battlefield 4 had some squad actions.
Yeah, and I am not deep into Battlefield. I played the Battlefield free-to-play game for a little bit. I played Battlefield 3, and that's about the extent of my gameplay with the series.
I really encourage Hardline. Oh my god, man! Don't.
Never played it.
Well, I mean, it was a great concept, but it was executed so poorly.
Yeah. Was it even developed by DICE? Hardline.
Hardline?
Yeah, I feel like that wasn't even developed by DICE.
Why are we talking about Hardline?
Because I said it just
because it's a disappointment to its mother and I.
Oh.
Hardline is part of the mainline Battlefield series. It took one of its annual slots, but it's best to consider it like one of the offshoot Call of Duty type deals. Like every other year they do the mainline, and then the year after that they do the Modern Warfare style line, and then Advanced, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
Hardline was developed by Visceral, who did Dead Space, I believe.
I enjoyed Dead Space,
and has been recently shut down. Well, not recently, but you know.
Well, actually, to be fair, my primary complaints with Hardline stem almost entirely from the single player experience, not from the multiplayer. The multiplayer was pretty much classic Battlefield, with a couple extra things that you could do. But the single player was Hollywood Cop, not actual.
Oh.
It was Bad Boys, not NYPD Blue.
I mean, I don't know. A Bad Boys game could be fun.
Get real.
Well, anyway, so Battlefield will likely be out. What, like
October 19th is the date.
Oh, so there is a date. Okay,
there's been a date since day one.
And since I brought it up, so EA, they don't attend E3 in the traditional sense. They have this thing called EA Play that takes place outside of E3. And according to IGN, EA promises players who attend will get the chance to play the next Battlefield experience and get an inside look at Anthem, which I have no faith in whatsoever. As per usual, EA Sports, The Sims 4, and EA's latest mobile games will also be on offer. And that's about it. That takes place at the Hollywood Palladium
Through it.
from June 9th through the 11th, and E3.
Tell him to hurry up.
E3 2018
Let me
dates.
go ahead and point out the fact that when half of a developer's game is literally the same game that you put out for the last 20 years, your Maddens and your NBAs and all that stuff, then you probably should not bother bringing it unless you're doing something crazy like adding the CFL to it. Despite the fact that I'm an NFL fan, I'm getting so tired of them releasing the same game over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
So I think, and I mean, they'll never do it because it's too big of a cash cow, but these sports games, if they would release one every 2, maybe 3 years, and then sell the updated roster as $20 DLC, I think that's the route that they should go. And I think they would even get more people. I mean, I wouldn't play it. I have no interest in it. But I'm definitely not going to play $60 a year for it.
Well, here's the thing. They make a lot of their money not even on the game. They make it on what they call what's it called?
Licensing?
No. It's a fantasy team sort of deal where you open decks of cards and build a team based on. It's basically Magic the Gathering with NFL players. You build a team with blind decks, and you play them based on those teams that you create with the blind decks.
Did not know this was a thing.
It is.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called. They've been doing it for about 6 or 7 years now. And I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to pay to update a roster because I still play with the Jaguars roster of 1998. Okay.
Well, but so my kind of thought process behind this, and honestly, I think a lot of games should take this approach because so if I've got, let's say I'm real big into Madden and I want to play online every year, and so I've got Madden 2018 that came out, last fall. Well, when 2019 comes out in this fall, if I want to keep playing, because that player base for 18 is going to dry up like that when 19 comes out, I gotta go spend another $60, and that's BS.
Well, my problem isn't that; it's the no compete issues that they have. Like I haven't played. I have not played a baseball game on Xbox since I lived in Denver, and I believe that the NFL thinks that they made the right decision in giving the exclusive contracts to EA, and that they're making this big chunk of money. But I think that the NFL and the MLB and the NHL and NBA and whatnot, I think they would be better off telling that anybody who pays a small licensing fee and meets a certain level of playability standards and whatnot can release their game on the condition that you get the license with the cheap licensing fee, say, $10,000, $100,000, so whatever they consider reasonable, and then a small percentage of every unit sold and a small percentage of every downloadable content sold. There would be a lot more money across the board, and there would be actual competition between developers to make a better game. And so we as the consumer would actually benefit far greater than we do now with Madden that has been going on since freaking 1994.
Well, 2K, back when they were making football games, because they could. I didn't play any of them, and I don't play Madden, and I don't care. But everyone that I know who ever played both said that 2Ks were always better. Always.
Usually. They also had the upside of having the NCAA games that you could buy with it, and then actually draft your own players from the NCAA games.
Right.
Which I never did, but
I actually don't know that Sony owns the MLB license exclusively. I think they're just. I thought it was just that they were the only ones doing anything with it.
No, there are only two. There are only 2 games that are licensed to carry that: the show and. Was it Grand Slam? It's that arcadey style game, and that
RBI baseball.
There you go. That's it. And they only get a handful of players from every team, and it's an awful game, by the way.
That's what I've heard.
I've never played the show because I don't do PlayStation and haven't done since PS2. Not for any particular hatred of PlayStation. It's just that I don't care for their controllers much or their UI. But I really enjoyed baseball games on the Xbox, and I played the smack out of them. I'm a big baseball fan. Go Rays, screw the Yankees, Sox suck. But the fact that there is no competition, I think, is a huge detriment to the community as a whole. And a lot of people who play these games aren't actually even gamers. They're just fans of that one particular sport.
Yep.
And they're losing out on that whole audience because, say so-and-so didn't have a good experience 5 years ago with this particular iteration of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would I buy it again if they don't really change anything but occasionally update the graphics, add a hit stick, and update the player base? And I can play an NFL game from 8 years ago from, Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And it's updated the rosters, so I don't need to buy the next Madden game.
The number of people that just buy, and I mean, maybe for Call of Duty, the number seems to be shrinking, but the number of people who go buy a console and they buy 2 games every year, Call of Duty and Madden, is astonishingly huge.
It is.
Yeah,
And
they're
In that shower.
until very recently, I bought Madden almost every year. I'd say maybe every other year. But then I realized that they were never going to put the classic Jags uniforms in there, just the crappy early 2000 uniforms that they had the black pants with no stripe and made them look like ballerinas. So
That's Patrick. He's out of the shower.
Just curious, does EA have the exclusive license for FIFA?
I believe so.
Okay, that wouldn't surprise me.
Get you the
There are other leagues, though, that have their own games outside of that.
Yeah, what's that Winning 11? That's a soccer or football game, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and I think that was a Konami game, so we'll probably never see it again.
You know what I would pay money for right now is a Nintendo remake of the original Super Dodgeball.
There is one on
awesome.
DS. It's really good. But you have to have a DS or a 3DS.
Dude,
What?
I do.
That's true. There you go. Go get it. It's a really good game. I don't think I have it anymore. Or wait, was it DS or Game Boy Advance? I can't remember. It might be GBA.
I
Now I
haven't
wonder.
had that in like 10 years.
Go
So
get it. Out my cabinet.
Dodgeball GBA. I feel like now that I said it, it's DJ. Yeah, it's a Game Boy Advance game, but it was good. It's a really good game. All right. So Battlefield 5 is a thing. You know what? Maybe I'll just go. I'll pick this one up. Maybe I will.
let me suggest that you go down to your local GameStop or whatever you have.
Better have your underwear.
Grab yourself a used copy of BF1.
Okay.
Just try it.
Oh, if I did that for Xbox One, I'd have to re-up my gold subscription.
Only if you were playing multiplayer.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
just
I
play-
mean,
yeah.
yeah, if you can play through the tutorial stories, I call them tutorials. They're not actually tutorials, but they feel like it.
Yeah.
You still get the crazy feeling of the overall game. You just don't have 15-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids shooting you and then cussing at you and calling you really dirty, awful things.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Which isn't as big a deal in Battlefield as it is in Call of Duty or Halo.
EA's still charging $40 for that in Origin.
Or you get EA Play, pay like $15, and then just not re-up it.
That's true. Is it part of EA Access? Where you get all the access to their free games? I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah.
If nothing else, BF4 is, and that's still got a decently sized player base.
There you go. All right. Cool. Josh, aside, you gonna pick this game up? Maybe.
I'm thinking about it.
I would play it if we had a substantial amount of people in the community.
The community playing it, and you would play it on PC, I'm sure.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
No, I'd play it on PS4 because forget you guys.
Well, sure. Well, the community will
Here's
all
the
have
problem.
it,
Yeah.
and we'll all have it on different systems.
And they'll never see each other again.
You know what? When they
Let me-
put it on Switch, sign me up.
Let me go ahead and point out the fact that at its peak today, Battlefield 4 still had 14 plus 14 plus 6 plus, I'd say around 40,000 people playing.
That's a lot of people.
That's substantial.
That's across all consoles
okay.
though, and it's not cross console play.
Yeah.
So even the lowest one, which was PS3, still had 6,000 players. Xbox One had almost 9,000. PC had 14 and some change. PS4 had the largest amount of Battlefield 4 players at 14,500. So you could still jump into that and have a blast.
Yeah.
And the servers were actually fixed pretty quick because so many people were angry, and they haven't had those problems since. They learned their lesson.
I just want to drive a tank again. That's what I want to do.
Battlefield 1. Those tanks are amazing.
That was my favorite thing to do is drive the tanks because I remember trying to fly the helicopter and basically I would just do an arc to one side and just crash.
Yeah, I can't do. Like, have you guys seen that video? I think it's Battlefield 4 of that guy with that helicopter. He's doing all this stuff he's flying through building, like inside buildings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't keep the freaking thing straight, so I don't know.
I learned how to fly the scout helicopters, but I tell you what, because it took me so long to learn the scout helicopters in Battlefield 4, I try to fly everything that way. So I'm playing Far Cry 5, and I get into one of those helicopters, and I somehow flip that sucker upside down and start digging a hole to China.
Oh man,
I much prefer Just Cause's helicopters.
So yeah, because it's just up and down, and
and then if you break yours, you can just go take someone else's.
You just fling onto someone else's, and it's all good.
Well, Battlefield 1, my favorite part was actually flying the Zeppelin. If I got into the Zeppelin, I wanted to be the pilot because I love dropping those massive bombs on people.
Mm-hmm.
And you move at like 3 inches an hour. So you have to get lucky and position yourself just right to drop the bombs while everything's blowing up around you. But it was really fun. I mean,
if all else fails, the whole thing's a bomb, right?
You can accidentally kill a lot of people when they defeat you.
So my favorite videos of Battlefield 1 are of when the Zeppelins glitch and they just start spinning really fast.
I never experienced that. I haven't experienced.
I wonder if you're in the pilot seat, if you see like everything's just going crazy.
Maybe it's just graphical.
It could be. I don't know, but there's some really great videos. All right, Darman's a baby and whining about the time. So
good night, kid face.
He is.
Yeah, he just said, "Gents, the time," because he's a child.
I mean,
what is it? Time to duel?
It's adventure time, guys. Come on.
So,
come on, grab your friends.
Unfortunately, you can't find EA games on PC outside of Origin, so you can't go pick up the game from the Humble store and benefit us. But if you want to play it on PC, you can get it on Origin. Oh, you can buy it from Amazon, though, and we have that Amazon affiliate link.
Humble, when did Humble drop their Origin support?
Wait,
yeah, they still have Origin support. That's how
I just didn't think they had it at all. I just didn't think they had it at all.
Oh, wait, they do.
No, that's Uplay is Far Cry. That'd be Ubisoft.
Oh, that's right. Well, whatever. They still have outside launcher support. So
okay. Well, cool. All right.